Deputy for Macroeconomic Development Planning of the Ministry of National Development Planning, Bapenas. Please proceed to the stage. Let's give a round of applause. And next, we have Mr. Mulya Amri, Chair of Kadin Indonesia Institute. Let's give a round of applause. Last but not least, Mr. Sylvano Damanik, Partner Indonesia Government and Public Services Leader of Deloitte. Welcome, sir. And to lead this conversation, it's my pleasure to invite our moderator to the stage, Ms. Nila Marita Indreswari, Executive Director of Prasasti Center for Policy Studies. Ms. Nila Marita Indreswari, please proceed to the stage. Yes, and Ms. Nila Marita Indreswari, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Bu Nila.
Thank you for making the time attending the session. And it is a pleasure to welcome everyone here in the session. And thank you for taking the time to join the session which I believe is a very timely and important conversation. And also I would like to thank IBC and congratulate IBC for giving us the opportunity to convene the session today. Thank you. So we have heard all the opening remarks. So please allow me to just get into or start the session with this core question. We now have the National Productivity Master Plan in place, but we also understand that the multiple actors, as Pa mentioned earlier, they are pursuing a fragmented initiative. So maybe my first question to the panel today is, what concrete coordination mechanism that is needed to align effort and shift Indonesia from input-driven growth to productivity-led growth? Maybe for this first question, I would like to kindly request Pak Eka to have the first response. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bu Nila. Yeah. So I think Pak Wamen said that maybe we have to improve about the productivity. Yes, because as we know, like more than 1 decade, we spend a lot for example, like in capital. If we disagree about that productivity, this still lead by the capital. That's why our I-core is still high, more than 6. If we compare about that like that, even though with Philippine I-core is 4.5. So that's why we have to improve our productivity. The question is how the strategy to do that. Okay, the strategy, this is not only the responsible only for the government, but we have called the triple helix. First about the government, the second one about the academia, the third one about the private sectors. The private sector is very, very important. Why? We calculate in the next 5 years in RPGM, Medium Term Development Plan, 2025, 2029, we need the investment need about that more than 48 billion rupiah. That's why the government only contribute 10%. The rest of it is coming from the private sectors. So the collaboration between government, academia, and the private sector is very important. The academia, we need like the R&D. If we compare like, we learn from the Korea. Korea in 1960, this is the GNA per capita, the same as the Indonesia. But right now, Korea has exceed about that $30,000 per capita. The question is why in the 1916 we have the same level, but now they have an advanced country. The key answer is productivity. they produce like the K-pop, like that. That's not their culture, but that's the product of because of the R&D research. I think this is the answer for your question. Thank you.
Thank you, Paika. So I would like to give to Pa Mulya and Pa Sylvano. Do you have any additional response to this question?
Thank you, Bu Nila. The topic on productivity is something that is core to growth. If we want to achieve an 8% growth, then there is no other way. It has to be productivity. The quote that is presented earlier by Paul Krugman just shows how important it is. In the long run, it's almost everything. And an expert on national competitiveness, Professor Michael Porter, he also said, I study a lot about competitiveness. I also worked for many years at the Asia Competitiveness Institute in Singapore. It's Professor Michael Porter himself, it said that ultimately, when we talk about competitiveness at the national level, it's mainly talking about productivity. Now, productivity has its master plan now, which is great. We're very good at producing documents, and it is a signal of our commitment. So it's a start, but we need to follow through. And here, the private sector, I'm here speaking as the chairman of Kadin Indonesia Institute, but as we saw at the beginning, we're here representing, other business association institutes, and I'm proud to be here stating that the think tanks of Indonesia's major associations, we are supporting productivity. And it starts from the workplace all the way to the national level. So that's what we need to work together on it. We need to have regular debottlenecking meetings. We need to have regular attempts to measure how we're doing on increasing our productivity level. So something that's more hands-on, that's what we need.
Thank you, Bu. I just would like to quote whatever has been said and also Pa Wamen that productivity doesn't happen at the government level. Productivity happens at the shop floor, individual level. So there is a saying that it takes a village to move a mountain. So the question is 8% growth a mountain? I think it is. So productivity has to be happening at all levels. So if I may, I would approach it from the individual level, because all these statistics, we are looking at it at the macro level. Not only the education sector, government, private sectors, I think we should not forget the role of community leaders, the role of families and individuals themselves. Because when we talk about motivation of one individual person to improve more, then it's influenced not only by the regulation of the government, but also their upbringing, their leaders, and also their individual motivation. So one time or many times, I've asked questions with corporations. If let's say there are 100 people in this room and we have 10 tables to lift. So can we lift the table? Yes, we can. And often I ask the question, if we have to reduce the number of people to lift the same 10 table, how many people can we afford to reduce? Or vice versa, if we want to lift more tables, how much more tables can we lift with the same 100 people? Mostly the question would hover around 10 to 15%, meaning that if we lose 10 people of 100, we can still lift the 10 table. If you have 10 more one more table to lift, we can still lift the 10 table. So if I look at the formula of Bappenas, which I think is great, if you recall the 8422, 84 estimated growth of GDP, 4% of additional labor, 2% additional capital. Now the last one, the total factor productivity is interesting. It's 2%, meaning that with the same amount of resources, can we produce more? So at the corporations level or at the individual levels, I think we can push a bit more, even though without any additional labor or capital, up to 10% productivity. So DFP of 2%, if everyone doing their part, is doable.
Thank you, Pa Sylvano. It's very interesting. So going back to Pa Wamen's statement about productivity is not about adding more work, but removing the hurdles and the blockers. So from your experience managing and consulting both private and public sectors, Pa, what are the blockers, from, like you said, individual and corporate level that can be, prioritized to be removed or to be addressed to increase productivity?
Well, first of all, everybody has to do their part. And everybody can create our own blockers. Now, it's not uncommon to hear that, oh, the regulation is not clear. The government is not pushing, but we can't blame everything to government. We have to do things on ourselves as well. That's why I think I commended all this publication of the blueprint. At least now we have a roadmap to follow. It's a matter of, like Mulya says, how do we implement, execute? At least we have a direction. Next is let's execute. I think if everybody has the same interest and spirit, if any blockers, Mulya, maybe you want to mention about who should centrally coordinate and push these things forward to bottleneck. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. You want to add, Pa Mulya?
No, just to keep that point that Pak Sylvano was making.
Sure.
One aspect is about regulations, right? And so if there's too much regulations or the regulations constrain people from being productive, companies from being productive, then that regulation needs to be reduced. That's deregulation, right? And the government has done a good job in achieving some deregulation, and most importantly from last year was government regulation number 28 of 2025, which is that business licensing is based on tiers, risk-based. So if your company, and most companies are actually working in low-risk sectors, they don't even have to get licenses. All they need to do is just apply for a business identification number, and then that's it. You can conduct your work. And even if you have low to medium risk, you can do a self-declared assessment. And then you can just do your work with the note that the government may check it, right? So there's no hurdle for you to start. You can just do it. So that's a good example of deregulation. We need more of that. We need more of that to happen in specific sectors, right? Anything that's causing delay or reducing our productivity, if it's stems from a restrictive regulation, we need to deregulate it. But the other thing is debottlenecking. Debottlenecking is that the regulation is fine, but it's just not moving, right? So it says that in order to get a permit, it should only take 1 day. But then you go there, it cannot be done in 1 day. It's against the regulation, but people are just, you know what? So that's debottlenecking. And there's a lot of that that's happening. We need someone, chiefs of the government, of the private sector, to sit together and actually, okay, what's not working? Okay, because changing a regulation takes time, but debottlenecking is just someone banging on the banging on the table, right? So we need both of that.
Okay, I think that's a very good point, Pa Mulya. Thank you. And Pa Sylvano. Aika, do you want to add more?
Okay, thank you. Maybe I want to respond from the government side. Yes, you're right. In 2020, we have like the study with the Professor Ricardo Hausmann from Harvard. You know, if you look at about that growth in Indonesia, it is stuck in the 5%. All the policy that we have issued about that to handle that. But why the growth still stagnant 5%? The result is very, very interesting. The most binding constraint in Indonesia is the regulation and institution. The second one about that human capital. Then the third one about the fiscal. So I think this is very, very in line with our strategy. If maybe we a little bit bored about it, why we should deregulate or something. But the real fact is deregulation and bottlenecking is the one of the binding constraint in Indonesia. If you look at about that province, for example, regional, we will get about a lot of regulation because why? Right now, we have a decentralized fiscal, so each province have their own authority to handle about that region. So we have to synchronize, we have to coordinate about the bottlenecking. That's why, for example, like right now, we have that maybe all of us in this room now that we want to achieve 8% in 2029. The question is why, how to achieve that? The question is only one. How about that we have to provide that good climate investment in Indonesia. The strategy is first about the regulation, the second one about the bottlenecking, and the third one, how to create the good ecosystem. For example, like the MSME and the industry for something like that. So that's thank you.
Okay, thank you, Paika. I think it's very on point, comprehensive, debottlenecking, deregulation, and alignment among the stakeholders, government, industry or players, and also academician. Now, um, connecting to your last statement about MSME, it is interesting that in the master plan that the data show a sharp contrast on this micro and small enterprises, Pak Eka. Um, these firms, which construct majority of total enterprises in Indonesia, actually record negative total factor productivity growth, right? While the medium and right firms grow mainly to do productivity advantages. So the question is, given the structure, maybe the first question is to Pak Eka and then Mas Mulya and Pak Sylvano, can Indonesia realistically raise national productivity without fundamentally addressing the productivity issue of the MSME? And what can we do, as government, businesses, and academician to boost the productivity among MSME?
Okay, thank you, Mbak Nila ya. Uh, like if we look at the data, 99% of the firm is coming from the MMSE, and it is equal about that 56 million. Yeah, 50. The question is about the MSIE. We now in Indonesia, we know about that missing hollow. What is the missing hollow? This is the MSM. This is about the mid level. This is the what we call the big firm. So because of our policy, some MSE doesn't want to increase the class, for example. They still want in MSE. Why? Because a lot of incentive that they get. Yes. But in the big firm, okay, I've paid tax, for example, the big tax. But why I cannot get or receive about the incentive? This is like the missing hollow in Indonesia. That's why we have to be careful about that, how to treat about the MSE. Yeah, because actually can maybe not all the time they give receive about that incentive. Maybe in the maybe a second years or something like that. Maybe they have to exit strategy about it. Okay, this is we want to increase the level. This is our homework right now in Indonesia. The second one, actually in RPGM and medium term plan, we have about that increasing about that level. So based on the some concept, the level of smart factory, we have put about the target in RPGM and in 2025, 2029 to become level 2. Use the analytical AI to predict issue, etc. That's some point, some strategy that we have put for the SMA. Why? Because we cannot only give about that a lot of incentive, but they have to increase about their level. Yeah, I think that's our explanation.
Okay, thank you, Pak Eka.
Mm-mm.
Pak Sylvano, from your perspective again, advising, managing, uh, consulting in the private sector and also public sector, how do you see because we are now in the digitalization era, right? how do you see digitalization can support, as Pak Eka mentioned, can support MSME to up their level untuk naik kelas?
Despite of the concerns of the MSMEs wanting to night class because of all these things, yeah, but I think genuinely they also want to night class. But the question is, what will be the incentive, perhaps, like what you said. The other thing is, we may be posed with a question that it seems we only have two options. Either because the math of this Pareto 199 is, should we just focus on the growth of the large firms, large corporations? Hopefully, it can create trickle-down effect to the smaller firms, smaller organizations. Or we just spray and pray to the 99% of the MSMEs, but creating small impact. Is that an either or? Is there a way in between? I think there is a way in between where we create what you said, an ecosystem of growing together. So, for example, if you have a large firm, if you're running a large corporation, definitely you need suppliers, vendors, or what. I know some organizations are already doing it, but if the vendors can also be the plasma that they develop, so eventually these MSMEs that they are developing, either through CSR programs or development programs, they can also grow, become a bigger vendor to these large companies. So the large company grow, the MSMEs can also grow. Of course, understanding that there could be some obstacles moving up, which I think we can think about it separately. But I think it's just too simple to say either we focus on the big corporations or the small corporations. Why not together? Because to be honest, talking about productivity, efficiency, it is a scary topic because it is perceived as a zero-sum game. You produce, I don't produce. You become better, I become less. You become stronger, I become weaker. That's a zero-sum game. I think if we can look at productivity, efficiency from a win-win situation, I think that's better.
Thank you. What about the digitalization, Pak? The role of digitalization?
It's interesting that according to the Bappenas master plan, the hub of innovation R&D is actually in the manufacturing sector, which is the biggest contributor, right? But I think in terms of total factor productivity, manufacturing sector is one of the lowest. So meaning that perhaps, this is just a hypothesis, perhaps technology is not so much widely adopted in the manufacturing sector yet. And therefore, the companies in that sector are not getting the benefits of this technology or digitalization. The question is why? Like I said, often technology, I mean, we have various reasons. So there are actually 5 reasons on why technology digitalization have some difficulty to be implemented at the shop floor. We don't have the talent, we don't have the governance, we don't have, but I think the most worrying part to the workers is it replaced their work. They will be replaced by technology. I think that's the biggest worry. So the pushback is real because of that. But I think if we can, I know this is a big word, embrace the technology. I'm a 60-year-old person. I'm scared of technology, to be honest, because I know my work can be replaced. 50% easily of my current work can be replaced. But you know, if I don't embrace it, I will be replaced anyway. So I think this is the challenge of, at the workers level, I'm not talking about the corporations level, is how people can embrace this technology adoption before augmented and then technology powered. If their worry is terjawabkan, answered, hopefully the adoption can be faster.
Okay, thank you. Another 2 questions on digitalization, sorry, because I think this is the topic that we've been, talking about, right? But yeah, because we're talking about the productivity master plan, maybe the audience want to know how, technology innovation, as you mentioned, Pak, can support this productivity, in the implementation, and how do you see the correlation between AI and R&D and innovation can accelerate this productivity movement?
I think everybody can agree that innovation is expensive because of the risk, not only the money. The question is, do we have the money? Do we have the appetite to spend that money on something probably one success out of the 10 attempts? That's why innovation can be expensive. So in general, if you look at the characteristic of, by the way, if not mistaken, our R&D spending of GDP is fairly low compared to other countries, ya Pak ya. And why is that? Because innovation is expensive, risky. So if you don't have extra money, we will not be wanting to spend on that. So I think the question of productivity and innovation goes hand in hand. If you don't have excess money, we don't want to spend on innovation. So we have to meet the hurdle first so that we are safe enough to spend something on quite risky lah, gitu ya. So that's the thing. I think we should not forget we have had pockets of excellence in technology adoption. If you recall, e-commerce in the region, in Southeast Asia, in Asia Pacific even, Indonesia is one of the highest, the growth. So it doesn't mean that we don't have appetite to use technology, and we do. It's just when we look at it at the national level, across sectors, then the numbers is small. But in some pockets, we actually spend a lot of innovation. Yeah, sorry.
Mas Mulya, silakan. If you have anything to add.
In terms of technology or micro enterprises?
Okay. First is about how technology and innovation can support micro and medium enterprises to going to the next level.
Right. So I think key to notice here in Indonesia, and I think in many other developing countries, is that being micro or small is often not by choice. Maybe in developed country, you've worked at a big company, medium company, then you decide that you want to be an entrepreneur, you have an idea, then you start your own, small company. In here, many of the micro companies, they are there because of necessity. They have no other choice. If they had a choice right now, if they were given a job or keep your enterprise, micro enterprise, they would have gladly taken the job. So their instinct, their goal of creating the micro enterprise or small enterprise is actually survival. So it's not a question when we see that their productivity is declining. The goal was not productivity in the first place, it's not entrepreneurship in the first place. So that's where productivity in the workplace, creating jobs, is just as important as supporting this kind of entrepreneurship. And yes, technology can support that. We've seen micro enterprises adopting digitalization. And as you mentioned, especially during the COVID era, right? Now you go to a small push cart and they already have the QR code for you to get payment, right? So, but nowadays, that digitalization, digital payments is now AI. So for example, Kadin Institute we're developing, and we have already developed a school for AI, which is called the Kadin AI Academy, training micro, small enterprises on how to do prompt engineering. So that's going to hopefully help them achieve more productivity. But of course, if their intention was so that I can employ my cousins who are unemployed, right, they don't need AI, right? So I think it requires two different approaches. One is job creation is a must. And for those who are actually interested in starting companies, then we can talk about productivity. We can talk about these kind of digital tools, including AI and automation with them, right? So I think it requires both approaches.
Okay, that is interesting because creating jobs also requires innovation. Otherwise, the job is not going to be there, right? Yeah, but I get your point. What is the fundamental objective? What is the priority, right, for the MSME? Okay, Paika, do you have anything to add on this topic?
Sorry. Okay, thank you. So I think like that, we agree that about how to strengthen our MSE is coming from the digitalization. And digital is we have actually 3 pillars. First about the infrastructure, the second one about human capital, and the third one about the R&D. About the human capital, this is if you look at about that our internet coverage in Indonesia, this is almost 100. But the question is, why about the utilities is still low? About competitive, so maybe all of us use the digital, for example, scroll on the TikTok, something like that. But how we can, what we call it, well, we can give the perspective for the people that use internet to the more productive. So I think about that, how to increase the capability in the human capital is a must. And R&D, R&D, I think I visited a lot of university in Indonesia. They have a good invention about that. For example, like how to increase about that rice or something like that. But the question is, why the industry cannot support them? Because they don't know how to connect with industry. So okay, this is and the second one, for example, like the R&D, they have a good journal, Scopus Q1 or something like that. But the question is, after that, what is next? So I think the question, I have one solution. We have SDGs from the campus, and SDGs hub from each campus have to connect from the invention in campus to the market. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Pekka. It's very interesting. Yeah, I definitely agree. Hopefully, Mas Mulya and Pak Sylvano also agree about the high, usage of, internet, digital, especially everything in online, right? But the question is, does that translate to productivity, right? As we know, Indonesians are very active. And I think with what you say, Pak Sylvano, with the increase of e-commerce in the past few years, yeah, people are become more productive online, right? And become more creative, content creator and all that. But I think to your point, Pak Eka, I think we can still push this for more. So people, they're not just going online scrolling and reading news or gossips, but they can start to find activities that can be productive or help them earn income. Yeah, I think that's something, I agree with you, Pat. Something that we should push further. Okay, before we go to the Q&A session, please allow me to have another 2-3 minutes for having a final question to the panelists. Again, thank you so much for the discussion, Bapak-Bapak. Just one last final question. Now that the productivity roadmap is there, right, Bapak-Bapak, do you think, what is your opinion, for us to push this through to execute, yeah? Is this more of a fundamentally policy problem or capability problem as we discuss, or an execution problem, which also is an issue? But I would like to get your, final thoughts. What is the fundamental problem? And if this is execution, who should be held accountable for delivery between now to 2029? Maybe I start from Paika first. Thank you, Bapak.
Okay, I want to answer. You give me 3 key points. First, about the policy problem, capacity problem, or execution problem. Maybe all I think we have to yes address about it. For example, like that productivity, we cannot say only the labor, but productivity is like an ecosystem. For example, like that regulation, infrastructure, or health, or something like that. This is we have to address it. And the second one about that execution. So as I mentioned before, that okay, we have a lot of policies that we have right in the planning document. But the question is it impact or not? Have a good impact or not sometimes? So about the execution, this is not only the plan, but how we can deliver about that plan to implementation. So we have to collaborate with the private sectors, academia, and from the government. Government from the line ministries, from government, from the central government and regional government. We have to collaborate with that. So from the private sector, we hope that maybe we hope that private sector improve their competitiveness not only in Indonesia, maybe in outside and something like that. Because like that productivity, we have, for example, we want to increase the share of industry, for example, to achieve the high growth. So maybe we have to know about that. How about the investment like that? The industry, how about? And the second one, the third one about trade. So industry, investment and trade, this is one line that we have to improve. Yes, yeah. Okay. I think this from my side. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pak Eka. Mas Mulya.
Yeah. Um, you measure what you value the most, right? So we do have measurements of productivity, but it is hidden somewhere. Every quarter we discuss about GDP growth. Every month we discuss about inflation, right? Export and import. It makes the headlines, and it's being presented. These numbers, all of the whoever does a presentation, they will have a GDP growth, they will have an inflation, and maybe export imports. But where is productivity? It's actually not hard to calculate it. It's actually is calculated, right? But we don't talk about it. We need forums like this. So big appreciation for IBC to facilitate this and make this into a national movement of productive Indonesia. We need to talk about it more. So everyone in your capacity, whenever there's a chance, please talk about productivity. Please ask about productivity, convey forums, convey meetings, and measure it. Talk about these productivity measurements. Bring it to people's attention. I think that's something that's very simple. Make it, kalau in Indonesian, kita viralin, ya.
Yeah. Is it a policy capability or execution problem? It's a bit of everything, I think, to be fair. Because we don't want to say, at least now, Bapanas will say that we have a master plan, we have a blueprint. So it's not about so much of a policy at the national level. How about at the corporations level? But to my point earlier, the topic of productivity can be scary, even at boardroom level. If you have a rapat komisaris and direksi, we talk about productivity compared to last quarter last year, and the number is down, board of directors can be very worried, Karena often we look at it as a zero-sum game. If you are less productive compared to last year, that means you are bad. If you are performing less than your competitor, you are bad. So this is scary to the people. Now, if we can change that to let's grow together, because you cannot guarantee performance always go up. There is always a moment when you go up, and that's why those graphic shows can. So I guess it can be an execution problem if we are scared about that. Like Pak Mulya said, in Singapore, there was a period where they apply what they call the people excellence. It is derived from, if you use from APO, the productivity standard, Singapore back then used the Malcolm Baldrige. Everybody knows that, right? The good thing about that is every company who wants to get some incentive from the government, they need to naik class based on that people excellence standard or rating. Then if they go up naik class, even the small scale industry, the government give them tax incentives and so on. So maybe as simple as, can we adopt this productivity master plan in our own corporations, like Pak Mulya said, as one first stepping stone to make things happen. Yeah.
Thank you. I think this is very good, Bapak-bapak, gentlemen. Thank you so much. First is, I think, Mas Mulya, you have a very good point that we should have a clear measurement and talk about it explicitly. Second, Pak Sylvano, very good point that this is a scary topic, to be honest, right? So start to be more realistic, embracing it, and then shift it into something that, more acceptable, i.e., let's grow together rather than, hey, let's measure whether you're productive or not, right? The third one, I think, Pak Eka, you have a very good, holistic point about this is not one single party to be accountable of. This is a collaboration between everyone, and we should talk more about it, and we should be viraling it. Okay, we go to Q&A session. Thank you so much, Bapak-bapak, for your very insightful explanation. Now, we go to Q&A, but before we start with the first question, I would like to invite Bapak Ade, Bapak Ade Wahyudi, co-founder of Kata Data, who have some words about productive
and the industry, merge them together, then you have talent that is right for what is needed by these companies at whatever scale and whatever industries that they're operating in.
Thank you, Pak Mulya. I think that's a very good point. Pak Sylvano, apologies. Pak Eka needs to, yeah. Nggak usah. Oh, nggak usah. Oke. Sorry. Jadi Pak Sylvano dulu ya. Oke, silakan Pak.
Just a bit, because being a human capital professional for many, many decades, there's a very interesting question. Track and preserve. It could be two different situations, but in general, people want to be associated with something growth. If I'm joining a company who is declining, I may not want to join that company. Ask yourself, why do I want to join another company if you're an employee? If you are a business owner, think about why should somebody join your company? I think one of the end is meaning of purpose. Purpose can be anything. If I'm a fresh grad and I need money, my purpose is to get money. So whoever attracts me better, I will go for it. Some people wants to learn from their boss.
So I think for the productivity, as I mentioned before, maybe we have to strengthen collaboration. Government cannot achieve about the target, something like without academia and the private sectors. I think this is the right momentum because starting this year, we formulate about that the planning for 2027 plan. You know, in 2027 about the target from the Pak President is growth is 7.5%. So this is very, very high target. And I don't want to say about this is we cannot reduce or not, but maybe we have to provide about that, what kind of strategies that we have to put in the planning document to achieve 7.5%. Yeah, because this is impossible or not. I don't want to talk about that. But the question is how to strategies to achieve that. That's why I invite all of participants here to, if you don't mind, yeah, we can coordinate. Maybe your response, your input is very, very important for us to formulate a better planning document, especially in 2027. I think this from me, Bu Nila. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much Pak Eka, Pak Mulya dan Pak Sylvano. Please give a round of applause for our panelists today. Sorry, one question. Okay.
Pak Mulya, sorry, I have to.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause to our esteemed speakers. Thank you so much.
We still have one more question. Okay.
Do you still have time? I don't want to delay the lunch that you have. Well, it's actually a comments on several aspects that you discussed. First is about the you mentioned about the role of R&D or innovations for productivities, yeah. And also you mentioned about the low spendings on R&D. Actually, we only have around 0.3% of R&D compared to our GDP, while the ideally should be about 2 or 3%. And most of them is coming from the governments actually. 66% coming from government, 17% from higher educations, and only 17% from the business. So I think in terms of the input, if you want to increase the innovation, the input in terms of the spending need also to be increased from the business side as well. Yeah, because there's been discussions about connecting the research that's been done by university with the industry. I forgot to mention I'm Yosuniti also from the Ministry of Higher Education and Science Technology. And my role is actually how we connect university with industry. Yeah, so I've been doing the last 1 year, try to connect the products, the technology, all the things that developed by university to the industry, whether the industry can be the off-takers of those products or they can work together to develop products so that the knowledge that they develop not just stopping as the publication as being discussed, but becoming something that can be used by industry, by the society, and of course supporting the productivity that we hope to happen. And I think in terms of the output of the innovations, actually, if you look at the Global Innovation Index of Indonesia this year, actually we are not, compared to 2024, 2025, we are going, the ranking is one point going down. So last year 54, this year is 55. Yeah, which is still actually is quite stable. Yeah, but in terms of the outputs, we increase the output. The ranking is better. But in terms of the input, the ranking is lower. Yeah, meaning that actually we can increase more spending on R&D, yeah, the output will be higher, and that's what we need if you want to move from middle income country or upper middle income country to become high income country. Yeah, that's in terms of the innovation. The second is in terms of the talents, actually research talent here. If you look at the countries, the upper middle income countries compared to high income, actually the number of researchers per capita, per 1 million people, it should be around 4,000. We are only 1,000. So we need to increase 4 times. Yeah. So by talent development. So this is also something that we are doing at the Ministry of Higher Education, how we increase the number of talents doing R&D, research and developments. But of course, we cannot do it alone. Yeah, we are on the ground with the university, but we need the support from the business, from the industry. While we've been speaking with Kadin, with Apindo, with IBC and everything, all the association to help us to connect what has been done at universities with what the industry needs. Yeah, I think that's my comments. It's not questions, actually comments to all of the speakers to add from the perspective of the academician or higher education. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Bapak, for the comments. Mulya or Pak Sylvano, do you want to have a quick response to that?
Okay. Studies demonstrated that successful innovations requires 3 triumvirates or 3 pillars: the business, the market or consumers, and the think tanks or academia. Even for Indonesia, we have BRIN now. So these are the 3 components. That's at the macro level. Micro level, what are we going to do? What can we do? For example, if I have a new competition coming in, my question is, how do I serve my consumer better? Why don't we ask our consumer? So that is the consumer part. And then work with academia, work with the think tankers, with the research on how to manage it. So I think this triumvirate of business, consumers, because this is where the demand originated from. These are the people who are supplying the demand. And in between, these are the academia, the think tankers who can help them. But along the way, the academia, let's say if it is university students, they are exposed to industries. So the offshoot or the byproduct of that is not only to the business, but to the students, they get exposed early to the business. So I think this is where the accumulation of the partnership of those 3 becomes important for innovation to happen. Tomorrow, there is a company that I know, Paragon. Hopefully, if you can attend their session, it will be interesting to ask the same question on how do they innovate in the light of competition and so on, because I think they have interesting ways of how do they collaborate these 3 things together. Mungkin itu.
Thank you, Pak Sylvano.
That's a good point, Pak Yos. Thank you very much. We're very much in support of that. From the private sector, maybe we can work together on the super tax deduction for R&D, right? You know, if a company spends on R&D, they can get 300% of that amount not to be tax-free. But we can work together in making this more accessible, because the inputs from some of the companies is that it's quite hard to actually apply for that. So I hopefully that could help companies to spend more on R&D.
Okay, thank you, Pak Sylvano, Pak Mulya. I think this ends our session today. Thank you very much again. Please give a round of applause to our panelists today, Pak Sylvano, Pak Mulya, and also Pak Eka, who just left the room for another engagement. Thank you so much. We hope that this session can give you a lot of insights and perspective about how we can work together to increase productivity. And this should not be just a discussion or a book, right, Pak Sylvano and Mas Mulya. This should be a movement, something that we should work on together from public sector, private sector, the government, academia, so we can push growth for Indonesia, and we can support our government's objective to increase 8% economic growth, inshallah. Thank you so much for attending. On behalf of IBC, thank you so much again for the session. Please forgive me if there's any mistakes during the session, and I hope you can enjoy lunch after this. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause to our esteemed speaker and moderator. Please remain on stage and take one step forward for a token of appreciation presented by the Indonesian Business Council. And we would like to invite the IBC Director of Policy and Program of the Indonesian Business Council, Mr. Prayoga Wiradi Surya, to present the token. Please proceed to the stage. Please give the token of appreciation to our speakers. Yes. Again, next. To our moderator. And the next for the next speakers. And please take a group photo to commemorate this amazing moment. Maybe you can take one step forward. Yes, okay. Look at the camera. In 3, 2, 1. Once again, 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's give a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you so much, our esteemed panelists and moderator. And you may return to your seats. Ladies and gentlemen, we have now reached the conclusion of our morning proceedings in Ballroom C. We will now adjourn for a lunch break and a period of networking. We invite you to enjoy the hospitality prepared for you. Thank you so much. And take this opportunity to continue the dialogue with your fellow delegates. Please be reminded that we will reconvene promptly at 2 p.m. This afternoon, we continue with another IES in Action session, focusing on unlocking investment for sustainable cities and exploring what it takes to accelerate cities' investment at scale. And we kindly invite you to enjoy your lunch at the foyer as we will prepare the ballroom for the next session. And we look forward to seeing you back here for a keynote address by the Honorable Governor of Jakarta, Mr. Pramono Anung. And enjoy your lunch, and we'll see you again. Thank you. Let's give a round of applause for us today. Thank you.